14 out of 15, we're live. Hello, welcome to the show, everybody. I hope you guys are doing well. And there go the notifications. We like to see notifications going out on the show. Yes, we do. Let's go ahead and plug this phone into power. There we go. Charge that thing up. Nick Brown, good morning, good morning. Hello, hello. How is it going? Michael Haskey, hello. Day 4. There's more hearings. What? Oh, they're starting hearings up again today? What time, I wonder? Huh. I like watching those, man. Nothing wrong with that. Good morning, Beazle. You trying to come in here again? I can't yell if you come in here. I hurt his ear yesterday. I think he's trying to come in here. Rogan, you trying to come in here, buddy? Okay. Why you beazling, little Beazle? You're so cute. I love you, Beazle. You're so cute. I love my Beazle, Bob. Mike Elliott. How am I doing? I'm doing good, man. I'm just checking the headlines right now. Federal Reserve passes the buck on inflation. Oh, you don't say. It's fucking funny. Doing outside painting and gotta strip what existing paint is there. It's faster than scraping and easy on the wood. The business is taking off. Cool, man. Hell yeah. Social media platforms have let the skin whitening market run wild. There's a skin whitening market? What? What is that? What Michael Jackson was doing? Lip whitening. Huh? Skin lightening products have exploded in their availability on major social media platforms where there are few rules about how they are promoted or sold, with some products containing potentially toxic ingredients. Consumers could be at risk. Huh. Or just maybe be happy with however the hell you're born. You ever heard of that? You ever heard that expression? He's not comfortable in his own skin. Maybe he should be. So let's work on that, can we, folks? Okay, great. Moving on. Mikey did it. Mikey. Butthole bleaching. I keep getting ads that I need to do 1,776 push-ups before the 4th of July. What the fuck? What? I don't know, but today's the first day I did 2 sets of 50 push-ups, man. So I did 100 push-ups this morning. I feel good. But I'm able to do 50 and 50. So that's good. I can do 50 push-ups at a time. Then I can come back and do 51. I did one extra one a few minutes later. 2 sets, son. Hey, Merc. Oh, here we go. Here's a video I want you guys to see with me. I wonder how long it is. U.S. desperate to fix rising energy prices, which we caused. Let's watch that. That's from RT, man.
All oil and gas producers, it's time to flood the markets. At least that's what Washington's hoping for.
He's asking upon our domestic and international producers to produce more.
It makes sense since Joe Biden has long been trying to rip the West away from one of its biggest energy suppliers, Russia.
Today,
no, it doesn't make sense because Joe Biden was promising that he was going to end oil and big energy and replace it with green energy. This is hilarious. It's insidious. It's fucking crazy. And why don't you show Joe Biden promising where he's going to end, you know, when he's going to cut back, it's all going to be electric and he's going to push electric cars and blah, blah, blah. And now it's like, oil, we need oil. I got to go to Saudi Arabia and talk to the murderer so I can get us more oil. I got to go talk to the guy that murders American journalists so I can beg him on my hands and knees for more oil. Are you kidding me? Okay. Let's keep going with this.
announcing the United States is targeting the main artery of Russia's economy. We're banning all imports of Russian oil and gas and energy. There will be no longer a Nord Stream 2. We will bring an end to it. Just imagine,
you hear that?
If in fact Europe...
This is great. There'll no longer be a Nord Stream 2. Hey man, that's Germany and Russia's pipeline. Who the fuck is America to say what's going to be your pipeline and what's not going to be your pipeline? This is what helped start this war, guys. Understand, this warmonger helped start the war. Understand that. Here, I got to close this door. I'm going to play some more of this, but let me close this door all the way.
Count on
I can
Russian
see where
oil.
this is going.
If they were energy independent.
$400 billion of EU sanction-related losses, record-breaking runaway inflation in the U.S. itself, and Washington's taking all this even further. It's recently slapped sanctions against a number of Chinese and Emirati companies doing business with Iran, one of a few countries that might be able to counteract the rapidly rising global price of oil. But Washington seems more interested in its maximum pressure campaign against Tehran, so oil prices saw a sudden sharp rise after that decision. It's just the latest episode in Biden's series of sanctions that leave worldwide pain and suffering in their wake. For those who would rather laugh than cry...
Did you guys hear that? Did you guys hear that? Biden's sanctions are causing worldwide pain and suffering. Oh, but our sanctions are so great. We've got the greatest sanctions. Hey, Kuntala, I got news for you. No sanctions are great. If you have to do sanctions, then you're at war, period. You're hurting people. That's what sanctions are. There's no such thing as a great sanction, you dumb fucking stank cunt whore bitch. I fucking hate you. Scamala, you fucking cunt. I want to go back and I want to hear that again.
And suffering in their wake. For those who would rather laugh than cry, memes comparing Biden's tragic tumble from his bicycle to the collapse of the economy offer some sort of comic relief. Others, though, just want the price of oil to go down.
Asian buyers are hoping for a quick return of Iranian supply to bring oil prices lower amidst rising geopolitical tensions.
I think that the United States is finding itself in a contrary as it's now what's been happening over Ukraine. Because all they thought at the beginning is that they could use this kind of maximum pressure and using long arms sanctions to achieve its aim, without realizing that this is all already a big backlash on their own economy, on their livelihood, the people's livelihood, and on inflation.
To make matters worse, history's repeating itself as Washington's demanding the European Union stops buying natural gas from Russia as well. Reports are already saying Berlin, for example, may be hoarding gas to prevent a disastrous winter.
Nice.
We must and we will do everything we can to store as much gas as possible in the summer and fall. Gas consumption must continue to fall, so more gas must be stored in storage, otherwise things will get really tight in winter.
Pre-dab.
It should come as no surprise that all these consequences of the West's generosity towards Ukraine have begun to change people's minds about the conflict. According to a poll published by the European Council on Foreign Relations, 35% of Europeans are war-weary and want to see a peace treaty signed with Russia. Only 22% want to see the war continue. That much is clear when you talk to the people on the streets of Italy, for example.
Gasoline has an absurd price. With 50 euros of gasoline, you can't fill the tank. I don't go out. I don't take the car and I go with the public transport.
Ooh, that was good.
It is the only way.
With the subsidy that will be removed at the end of July, gasoline price will reach €2.50.
You know, I got another Joe-Yo. Joe-Yo should make a video of Kamala Harris saying how great the sanctions are, and then he should take clips from people all over the world that have been negatively affected by these stupid fucking American sanctions, including Americans that are suffering and paying $5, $6 gasoline. Joe-Yo, what do you think? Let me know if you think that's a good idea for a video, brother. Hey, could somebody at Shut the Fuck Up Shitlib, please, on Twitter? It's STFU Shitlib on Twitter. At STFU Shitlib on Twitter. Because, you know, I would appreciate it. Bring him in here. He's probably working on the video that I wanted him working on yesterday. But I'd love to tell him about this idea for a video, too. It should be Kamala Harris saying how great the sanctions are. We've got the greatest sanctions. We've got some really great sanctions. And then show all the people in the world that are now suffering because of her stupid fucking great sanctions. You know, and you could do this all with this video right here. There's plenty of suffering in this video from people that are suffering from these sanctions, and all you need is Kamala Harris interspersed in this saying how great the sanctions are, which she said plenty. Yeah, that would be a great video. That would really hurt the Biden administration, and I'd like to really hurt the Biden administration right now because I'm fucking sick of them. I'm fed up with them, and fuck them. They're making me spit on myself. I fucking hate them so much. I'm rabid.
There is no solution. We are in a catastrophe.
Politicians have not always been up to the task. We hope there will be a more substantial intervention.
It has become a difficult situation. I don't drive the car anymore. I ride a Vespa.
The European Union's helmsman no doubt see
what do you do in the rain, pal?
On the wall,
you know,
with the calls of its officials for Kiev to come to the negotiating table getting
I ride a
louder
Vespa.
and louder. French President Emmanuel Macron said Kiev will eventually have to negotiate, even suggesting that Ukraine might have to give up some of its territory, a big no-no for Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky.
Thank you, Nick Brown.
Necessary to speak to Putin, and I will continue to do so, as the French president will also.
À l'Ukraine de le décider. It's up to Ukraine to decide. We cannot decide the conditions for the end of the war instead of the Ukrainians. All decisions are made by the Ukrainian leader.
We need more help from our partners.
Oh, fuck you, Zelensky.
First of all, we need weapons.
Fuck you.
Full support.
I hope you choke on your tongue.
And setbacks.
Fuck this guy.
Who is stuck in
calls himself a Jew, and he lets Nazis murder people in his country. What an asshole.
At any rate, Washington's insistence on putting politics ahead of common sense energy decisions might just see Western
spirited driving.
Take a harder tumble.
Is that spirit like spirit cooking?
And if this maximum pressure campaign
I really like this.
What effect
I like
do you think
this
that's
guy.
Gonna have on East Asian
it's great
markets?
reporting.
In spite of the sanctions, Russian oil and gas are still finding its way to other countries. As I said, because there are.
I think we'll be ready at 24 and 30 seconds past 8:24 to smoke. So happy 420. No law regarding cannabis. Cannabis isn't for all. Cheers, everybody.
Russia for a long time, and China does not see why this global trade should be disrupted and should be pressurized to follow American input. So that's why Russia is gaining quite hugely from this increase in oil prices, which strengthen the exchange rate of the ruble. So I think that we're seeing a very complicated action or reaction kind of scenario. But at the end of the day, I think the United States is seeing increasingly clear, especially with the Biden administration, that he can't just prevail by just imposing sanctions on other countries.
Unfollow the shit lib. Because, you know, if you're going to sit there and tell people that Democrats are the solution to our current problem, you are the fucking problem. Fuck you, unfollowed, you dumb fucking bitch. I hate shit libs, bro. I fucking hate them. can't wait to see Jojo's new video, man. Have I missed anything? Josh G. Not a thing, buddy. We got Joe H. We got Josh G. To me, I don't mind the price of fuel as long as the government doesn't push me to buy an electric vehicle. Well, that was the whole point, was that Joe Biden used to make, is that everyone's going to be driving an electric vehicle, and they're going to phase out the gasoline powered vehicle. You know, that's what he campaigned on. All right, the 1 hour chart on Bitcoin is showing a rising wedge pattern. If US index remains positive today, we can see Bitcoin moving towards upper resistance at 22,900 today, guys. That is what Ash WSB Real said. It's a guy I follow. He's a crypto trader since 2007. He says 134 years trading experience in his bio. I think that's hilarious. He says, nothing I tweet is a financial advice. Great chart. It's missing the human factor. Yeah, you're right. It's missing what's going on in the world. You're right. And all of these charts are victim to whatever external stimuli may be occurring. You know, if in a vacuum, that is where it's going to go. But it's not in a vacuum. We've got war going on right now. So, yeah. We'll see, though, if the chart's accurate. We'll know, because it's a short term. He said, oh, he didn't give a time frame. Okay, my bad. Tim Allen is trending. Oh God, what did he fucking say? Don't read that tweet. Disney Pixar's Lightyear, huge flop at box office. Oh, so they changed the guy who does the voice for the character? Is that what's going on? Yeah, the tool man. Tim Allen. Buzz Lightyear. No Tim Allen. They're saying Disney's woke because they wouldn't put Tim Allen in there. I guess he's political. Who knows? People are saying, no Tim Allen, I won't watch. Dude, that is so funny. That is so funny. I mean, we'd make a business decision like that. You'd have to be a freaking idiot. And yet, you know, we see this all the time. I see companies doing dumb shit. And I'm like, you know, even the United States of America making horrible decisions. And you're like, who elects these people? You know? To represent us. More movies for Netflix to buy rights to. I don't know. So, what else is going on? What else can we look at here? Let me see what the YouTubers are posting. They just keep showing me the same videos. Bitcoin 2 weeks ago. Why are you showing me a video from 2 weeks ago, dude? He puts up a video every day, you assholes. God, YouTube sucks, man. The Moon uploaded a new video. Why is it that 1 minute ago? 15. Oh, fucking advertisement.
Hello guys and welcome to The Moon. My name is Carl and I'm going to bring you this cryptocurrency video, and I'm going to take a look at the Bitcoin price right now because Bitcoin is currently breaking towards the upside exactly as we predicted. That's why we put in a long position and we're making money over Bybit right now.
He did. He predicted that.
So essentially what I showed you was this double bottom. You pull this up like this at the point of the breakout, and we have perfectly met the target now of $21,000, which is exactly what we were expecting. And a big shout out to everyone out there.
Look how low energy he is now that Bitcoin is just ass raped him so bad, bro. You see the change in attitude? He's not all bowed up anymore.
Which is of course a great return on investment. Let me know right now in the comments if you are also taking this trade over on Bybit. And guys, look at this. If you scroll down below this video, then right now in the next few days, if you click my Bybit link, you get $4,000 bonus and 0% maker fees for 30 days. Also, click this Bybit tutorial if you didn't see it.
I like doing these little pre-dabs, bro.
Traders, obviously. The
Just
question
let it
is,
start
where's
smoking
Bitcoin
and go
right now?
with what you
And
left in there last
today is
time.
Monday, so
Cheers.
you think
No law regarding
also
cannabis.
that
Cannabis
you
isn't just for
but, actually, we have to, well, the actual, it's still a bank holiday. So for some reason, Tuesday is when the banks and everything open up again, the stock market. That seems to be the case, at least from what I've been told. So the question is, are we going to have to wait until Tuesday for big movements on the Bitcoin? Well, we're arguably already seeing some big movements, but what I've been saying before is that I think that Bitcoin could very well bounce straight back up here to fill the CME gap at $29,000. And 29K is also a massive previous resistance. If I just take this line and put it like this, then you can see how this level is so massive. Look at this. Support, and there's a big gap right there. So We could
it looked like cock and balls. That was funny.
29K.
And now we have a cock and balls.
But the question is, of course, are we going to roll over then and go lower, or maybe just go sideways? Because I don't think we're going to just immediately break through, because it's such a huge level.
I don't know. Who's it going to be? Is it going to be Carl the Moon, or is it going to be Joe H? Who's going to be right?
Ever since January 21.
I'm putting my money on Joe H.
Long-term support like that turns into very,
because like Joe H says, he's not thinking about the fact that we're at war right now, that we've got an energy crisis, that we've got a climate crisis, that we've got a pandemic, that we've got a food shortage, that we've got supply chain issues, that we've got a stock market crash, that we just raised the fucking rates. You know, the Fed, it goes on and on and on. It doesn't stop. And it's like, he's like, yeah, this chart says.
Let me know right now in the comment section, what is currently...
All right, no law regarding cannabis. Cannabis-isms for all. Big dabs. Cheers, everybody.
Personally, I see many different altcoins that are definitely very cheap right now. And I want to know what you guys think about putting in some money into some of those cheap alts. I mean, I love to buy the dip. That's basically what I did in the previous bear market. So nice. By the way, big news for Kasta. Look at this. The rollout is officially now happening. So it's an invite only for now. And it's officially happening right now in the EU. So if you are in the European Union, you will be among the first to try the app in this invite only rollout.
I'm not, you exclusive cocksucker motherfucker. Go fuck yourself. Why aren't you making it available to everybody at the same time, you fucking dumb cunt? Fuck off. Yeah, if you live in Europe, I will let you get it, and if you're American, you can go fuck yourself. Hey, fuck you. He's calling a 14,000 Bitcoin, and this is the guy who was raving about 100,000. Well, you know, just because he's calling 14,000 doesn't mean he's going back on his $100,000 call. I mean, don't we all think it's going to bounce up once it hits this bottom, and there's going to be a lot more people buying into Bitcoin? I mean, how many more people are going to get into the market at these cheap fucking prices? That's the question, you know, and I think that's what Carl is counting on. There's a lot of forces working against each other, though, bro, you know? I want to know what Lark Davis is saying. One day ago. It's a short. He hasn't put up a video yet today.
We have just survived one of the worst weeks ever, potentially the worst week ever for the cryptocurrency markets. All the technical indicators are showing that basically it's an absolute shit show in the cryptocurrency markets right now. Things are breaking left, right, and center. We had Celsius melting down. We had one of the biggest venture capital funds in crypto melting down. This is probably the worst it's been in a very long time, as bad as the bottom of the 2018 bear market, as bad as some of the major events of the past. And right now it's all bigger, it's more complex, it's more incestuous, which means that the damage is a lot worse. But guess what? Crypto's not going anywhere. That is the key thing to remember. Crypto's here to stay. There will be another bull run, just not right now.
He fucking said
we
incestuous.
We have just survived one of the worst weeks
so
ever,
funny.
Potentially the worst week ever for the cryptocurrency.
If you walk away with anything from that video, it's that he just used the word incestuous to refer to the fucking markets, bro. If you walk away with anything, and he said it with this really wild look in his eye. My monthly chart with spider lines and a 20-year projection. We won't see 100,000 until 23, 24. We won't see another bull run until January 23. we are in a 6-month bear market. Charts don't lie. 6 months? You've been wrong before, bro. Joe, your charts have lied before. We could shoot like a goddamn rocket up out of this motherfucker. But, you know, we just have to wait and see, I guess. It's the only way we're really going to know, right, Joe, is just to kind of go through it together. You know, all of us. Putin owns the libs. Yeah, Putin does own the libs. Do we want to watch that? It's an hour-long Jackson Hinkle video.
Is the story of threat and the one wallet that started it all. It's a story of love and adventure and...
British Home Secretary Priti Patel has authorized the extradition of WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange to the United States to be tried under the Espionage Act in a case which seeks to set a legal precedent for the prosecution of any publisher or journalist anywhere in the world.
Right? You guys, okay, so
Vladimir Putin.
What he just said is that they want to set a precedent so that they can prosecute and persecute and jail journalists. And they want to use Julian Assange as the test case to do it. This is setting a precedent that puts all journalism at risk. It also will prevent journalists from going all in to bring you the news, because now they know that their lives are being threatened, and by their lives being threatened, it threatens the lives of their families and their children. You know, because how the fuck are their children going to eat if they go to prison? You know? So do they really want to risk this kind of thing that Julian Assange risked? It's a fucking nightmare. And everyone should be screaming out loud about what's going on with Julian Assange. Absolutely.
Spoke at the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum, and it was absolutely incredible. I listened to a good portion of it this morning when I was enjoying my morning coffee.
Tanky!
I really was surprised.
You've got a boner, okay?
Vladimir Putin,
you can't hide it.
Made his
You're a
public decree that the unipolar
He's
American
like, Putin
world
speaking.
Order has ended.
Boing!
You know, the age of American hegemony has ended. We are in a multipolar world now. And he also was...
Could you act just a little more enthusiastic over the fact that Putin spoke, bro? That's all I'm just saying. You know, maybe you could give Putin just a little bit of credit. So Putin spoke, and it's Putin, and he's awesome. Tanky!
The decline of Western economies and the rise of the Russian economy in the face of sanctioned warfare. I want to, go through this with you now and break it down. It's an incredible speech, and as we go through this and as we watch this, I just want you to reflect on the inability of Joe Biden ever giving a speech like this. Even when he was mentally there, he still couldn't give a speech like this. Like him or hate him, Putin is a very talented orator and understands he's very, very in touch with the state of global power struggles, unlike every single Western world leader. So let's take a look. Let's break it down.
Hi, friends, colleagues. I greet all the participants and guests of the 25th St. Petersburg International Economic Forum. It is held during the hard times for the entire global community, when the economy, markets, and even the principles of the global economic system are suffering a heavy blow. Many trade, industrial, supply chains disrupted by the pandemic are going through new challenges, and such key notions as the business reputation.
Quarter of the hour. I just picked up my bong and didn't realize it. No law regarding cannabis. Cannabis is a business for all. Cheers, everybody.
Unfortunately, they have been undermined by our Western partners, and it has been done intentionally to fulfill their ambitions, to preserve outdated geopolitical illusions. And today I would like to speak about our, and by our I mean the view, the opinion of the Russian leadership on the global economy. I'm going to speak in detail about how Russia is operating under these conditions and how Russia plans its development in this ever-changing situation. 1.5 years ago, when I spoke at the Davos Forum, I talked about that the unipolar world order is over, and that's something that I would like to start with, because we can't avoid it. It is over, despite all the attempts to preserve it with any means possible. And it is only natural, because changes are natural for history, because civilizational diversity of the planet, the richness of cultures is hard to combine with the political, economical, or other patterns, because it is not going to work.
Dude, look at the smile.
Can we just appreciate fucking big dick energy he's coming out here with? I mean,
dude, the smile on Jackson Hinkle's face, though, it's just like he's so appreciating this speech. It's just hilarious.
The St. Petersburg International Economic Forum. I mean, I think Trump's even spoken at this. I think Modi spoke at the one this year. Like, Megyn Kelly hosted the 2017 one. She was
I can speed this up a little bit, because it's a long video.
She was the main, person that was, doing all the speaking at that one. But it's just he's coming out here and he's being like, yeah, they tried everything possible, any means necessary. And look, this is just history.
Big dick energy,
this is just history. This is how the world works. Power comes and goes. You have empires that rise and fall, and now is America's time to fall. This is the end. This is a defining moment in history, you guys. I want you to appreciate this.
Because they are being imposed, those templates being imposed by one center, because this idea is flawed. When there is one strong country with a limited circle of other states that are allowed to be in this circle, and all the ideas of the foreign affairs of trade turnover is only interpreted within the interest of this one state. They only work one way. They only play in one direction, towards one goal. And such world will not be stable. The United States, after declaring victory in the Cold War, they declared themselves the messengers of the...
And let me just remind everybody that we won World War II because of Russia. Russia went in there and they sacrificed more lives than any other country to defeat the Nazis. Okay? On the ground, the Russians fucking did it. And yeah, America helped. We dropped a couple bombs on Japan, and killed a bunch of fucking innocent people. But the Russians went in there and really fucking sacrificed life and limb for us. And this is how we've treated them ever since.
Who has no obligations, but only interests. And these interests are to be considered sacred, and it's hard not to notice that in the recent decade on the planet we have new powerful centers, and each of them are developing their own political systems and civic societies. They are implementing their models of economic
hangs himself,
and they have the right to
in quotes, hangs himself, Billy Bong.
One thing I'll say quickly is that the U.S., the reason why it has failed so miserably, the project of the United States as empire, is because it focused on empire building and essentially lording over these states that it had created, vassals within. You look at China; it focuses on when it expands its reach. It focuses on mutually beneficial projects of industrialization with the nations it works with, and it protects the sovereignty of these countries. It doesn't try to manipulate it or subvert it. It tries to create strong allies rather than countries to be lorded over. This is the difference between China and Russia and a lot of these BRICS nations that are working with surrounding and smaller countries as well, smaller economies, that when you compare them to the United States.
We're talking about objective things, about revolutionary tectonic shifts in the geopolitics and global economy, in technology, and the entire system of international relations, where we see ever-growing role of the dynamically developing, promising countries and the regions whose interests cannot be ignored anymore. And these changes are fundamental, and they can't be turned back. And it would be a mistake to think that the time of the changes can be forgotten, that everything will go back to the way it was. It will never happen. But it seems that the ruling elites of certain Western countries, they still have this illusion. They do not want to see obvious things. They try to live in the shadow of the past. They still think that the domination of the Western politics is something that will never change, that it's something eternal, but there is nothing is eternal. And our colleagues, they don't just deny the reality, they try to counter the path of history. They think of the things that are left in the past century. They are hostages of their illusions. I'm talking about the golden billion countries, and they think that everything else is their backyard. and they still treat them as their colonies. And the peoples who live there, they considered second-rate people because they think they are exclusive. If they are exclusive, then everyone else is the second-rate people. That's why they want to punish, they want to exert pressure on everyone who wants to stand out, who doesn't want to listen to them. And they foolishly try to impose their ideas about culture, about ethics, about history that put under doubt the integrity and sovereignty of the states, put under threat their existence. Just remember Yugoslavia, Syria, Libya, and Iraq.
Like, it really is incredible to reflect on just how much America and the West broadly have bought their propaganda. And I don't just mean like the journalists, the media class. I'm talking about like what is presumed to be like the, you know, highly respected institutions of this nation. Like, you go to any Harvard, Ivy League, you know, Brown, Princeton, Yale, Georgetown, Stanford, even looking at like the UC's Berkeley, UCLA graduates, right? You look at them, you ask them questions about like history or about, you know, current geopolitical events. It's not just that they are lacking basic understandings of what is going on in the world, right, outside of like our sphere of influence, but also just have so thoroughly, you know, fallen hook, line, and sinker for the propaganda and regurgitate it, you know, ad nauseum. So this is the main difference I see with the younger generations, you know, in countries like Russia and countries like China, who are very well educated versus ours. Ours lacks a sincere understanding of the moment we are living in this very world, in this very time. And that's going to come back to bite us at the end of the day, because when these people find themselves in positions of leadership, it's not going to be the people who are trying to manipulate the public or trying to craft an agenda to make the American people think that we are wholly dominant of the world and we are the unipolar center and we do have American hegemony and American exceptionalism. It's going to be the dupes who actually fell for all this shit and are incapable of looking beyond our borders and asking these sorts of questions. Again, that's going to come back to bite us in terms of legislating and, you know, foreign relations work. Our generation is like absolutely fucking retarded when it comes to this shit, and I know it because I have a lot of friends that
I played Super Contra, bro. Super C.
From these Ivy League.
Super C. 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 Fuck it. Super C. Super C.
I had a kid I grew up with, smart kid, bit of a prick, but smart kid. He just posted on LinkedIn last week his undergraduate thesis and how incredible it is and how much his professors respected him for, you know, putting this out. Guess what it was on? It was on how we need a disinformation censorship in the United States. He goes to Boston University, Boston College, whatever the fuck it's called, nice school, and he wrote this big thesis on citing all these U.S. senators and official policy people, State departments, you know,
no longer go to cannabis. Cannabis is
and all this stuff, saying how we need
cheers to
censorship in the United States, and that's the only way we're going to save our democracy. We're gonna smoke some Kush in the bong. Who attended a top college university institution, saying that we need more censorship in the United States. You understand how brain dead these people are? This is really the main worry I have for the future of our country.
If they can't put down those rebellious attitudes, they try to isolate them or to cancel them, as they say now. And they use all the tools: sports, Olympic movement, cancellation of culture, and masterpieces, because their authors were born in their own country. This is the nature of the current anti-Russian sentiments and those that created sanctions against Russia. And they are not only crazy, they are thoughtless. The amount of these sanctions and the rate at which they are being taken is unprecedented, because they want to crush the Russian economy by disrupting supply chains, by trying to make Western companies to withdraw from the Russian market, to raise down Russian assets. They want to deal a heavy blow on the Russian financial system, but they failed. It is obvious that they have failed. It didn't happen. They didn't succeed. Russian businessmen, Russian government worked in a professional manner. Citizens showed their unity and responsible approach. Step by step, we are bringing more and more stability into the economic situation. First, we stabilized financial markets, banking system, and the trade system, and then we added more liquidity and more capital to help for for the sustainable development of the
My
companies
lips
and
are
create more
sticky
jobs.
from that
The
OG
prospects
Kush.
that prognosis about the state of the Russian economy weren't
From
true,
the
and we
bud.
know what was the reason of this propaganda campaign. Where did they get this 200 rubles for a dollar in about the hour devastated economy? That was just a weapon in the propaganda war. It was a way to exert pressure on the Russian society and on business circles. By the way, some of our experts and pundits, they also said the same things. They thought that the Russian economy was going to collapse, and it is Russian currency, ruble, will be critically weakened. But the life itself proved them wrong. And I would like to emphasize, to continue to succeed, we have to be honest, we have to be realistic in our assessment, we have to be independent in our assessment, and we have to believe in our strength. It is very important. We are strong people, and we can cope with any challenges. Like our ancestors, we can resolve any task, and our millennial history is the testimony to that. 3 months.
Whoa.
This is Webflow. Meet the design tool from the future. The most powerful visual code.
It's like there's all these world leaders there, all these like top officials and diplomats from other countries, and Putin just going up and again total BDE, and he's just like flexing on all these hoes about how like strong the Russian economy is. I love it.
There it is again.
Because it is. The Russian economy is so strong. Come on. They picked the worst time imaginable to try and pick a fight with Russia. The worst time. You got 2 years of COVID. You got inflation, supply chain issue that's already, evolving. And then you're like, oh yeah, also, let's start a sanction, like a real war, proxy war, but also an economic war with Russia that will...
Dude, this sounds like my fucking podcast. This podcast about a half hour ago. Almost word for word. Jojo, do your thing, buddy. I want to see the contrast between me and then Jackson Hinkle. That's fucking hilarious.
To further isolation and strip us of the ability to import basic commodities and basic goods, and if we do have the ability to import these goods, it's going to be at an increased price because we're sanctioning the insurers, we're sanctioning the shippers, we're sanctioning all the transport teams, so on and so forth. And then in addition to that, we're pushing India, Pakistan, China all closer together. It's the worst time imaginable.
Wow. Well said, Jackson Hinkle. This is why I watch Jackson Hinkle, guys. He sounded just like me.
And it continues to decrease. The economical situation has stabilized. State financial system is stable. Later, I will compare it with our situation with other regions. Yes, it's still too much. 16.7 is a lot. It's a big inflation. We need to deal with that, and we will deal with that. And we will succeed, I'm sure. After the first 5 months of this year, federal budget has a deficit 1.5 trillion rubles, and the consolidated budget with deficit with 3.3 trillion rubles. And the federal budget deficit in May is almost 0.5 trillion rubles.
What I do like about Vladimir Putin, it's that he's reading this off of a page in front of him. He's not using teleprompters. He's reading it on a piece of paper, fucking old school. And I like that. I think that's cool that he's fucking doing that shit.
Which is more, almost 5 times than the year-by-year situation last May. We need to increase
here he's flexing about the strength of the Russian economy.
production to improve the situation at the domestic market. We need to restore the banking loan system.
I mean, he proved it. He proved that he could go to war against America and could the ruble could rebound. That's all the proof you need. Their economy came right back.
They can use this delays. Basically, that's a zero interest loan from the state. These insurance payments will not have to be paid at one moment. They can do it in equal shares in 12 months starting from the next June. Then, since May, we have decreased the mortgage rate. Now it's 9%. And the program of the subsidized mortgage itself has been extended through the end of this year. And the objective is to help our citizens with the housing to support the
can you guys hear the ice cream truck?
Because we have million jobs in there. After the growth in the spring, the interest in the Russian economy are being brought down. The central bank is bringing down the interest rate. And
so just pause here. I mean, it's incredible. One of the biggest critiques that, the two biggest critiques that, I mean, they were the two main critiques that the Communist Party of the Russian Federation had of Putin was that A, he was not protecting the people of the Donbass before the war began. You had 14,000 people slaughtered there over 8 years. They're trying to do a genocide against the people of the Donbass, the Ukrainians were. And they said, Putin, you need to go do something. They're not going to agree to these Minsk Accords. You need to do something. He did it. He did it with this special military operation. Then we see that the CDRF, they also criticized Putin over his, his handling of domestic economic policy. He's very... you hear the word conservative. I don't say conservative as left versus right when it comes to Russia. I say conservative as in the sense of like Putin acted with, he acted conservatively, like in the traditional sense of the word. Like he's not very, he's not making big jumps with his actions when it comes to domestic economic policies. But now with the strength of the Russian economy, as you heard him say, he's been able to prolong the payments for major industries on their insurance payments. He also said that he is going to, the second thing was surrounding loans. So they lowered interest rates, mortgage interest rates, and they're subsidizing, there's some sort of a subsidization for mortgage loans for the end of the year. So they extended that. They also, I think he's going to talk about it probably. It was a really big thing. So they lowered interest rates like a few weeks ago and simultaneously increased pensions. So he's going to talk about that too. I mean, it's just incredible. You see him acting like this, not in a conservative way, because of how strong the Russian economy is. He wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't as strong.
That's why I think it is possible to decrease the subsidized mortgage rate. Now it is going to be 7%. But here is what I would like to draw your attention to. The duration of the program is the same until the end of this year. It means that those citizens who want to improve their housing conditions using this subsidy, they need to use it before the end of this year. The top amount of the loans is still the same, 12 million rubles for Moscow and St. Petersburg and 6 million rubles for the rest of the regions of the country. And I would like to add the following. We need to improve the accessibility towards these loans in the economy. In the near future, we are going to support the business activity from the budget, stimulating to the mechanisms of the market banking loans. This process has to be supported by us. To increase the opportunities for the earmarked funding, we have allocated 120 billion rubles from the fund of the national welfare, and this step is going to help with additional loans for the earmarked projects of 3 billion rubles. Dear colleagues, I have already said that the economic blitzkrieg against Russia was doomed from the beginning, from the outset, and these sanctioned weapons, as you know, as practice of the recent years has shown, it double-edged. It deals the same amount of harm to those who impose those sanctions. And I'm only talking about the current consequences. We know that the leaders of the Fin countries, when they speak informally, they speak about quite worrisome prospects, because the sanctions could be introduced not only about Russia, but any countries that they don't like. And it could be used against any country, including the members of the European Union and their companies. They didn't do it, they haven't done it yet, but they have already dealt, they have a blow on their own economy with their own hands. We can see how the social situation has exacerbated in Europe and in the United States as well. And the commodities prices are growing, food prices growing, energy price and the fuel price is growing, and the living standard is decreasing.
So there you have Putin point out that the sanction warfare that has been levied by the U.S., it actually has larger ramifications for the West at this point than it does for Russia. And he talks about how, like, no one is free of the, the threats, the knife of the U.S. sanction. But obviously it's had a more negative impact for the West. It's, increased basic commodity prices, food prices, gas prices, energy prices, right? It's causing more problems for us than it is for Russia.
The competitiveness of their companies.
Well, I was talking about sanctions before.
Direct losses from the sanction fever of the European Union can exceed $14 billion. $400 billion. So this is the reality that particularly against common sense.
The greatest sanctions.
And this is the burden that will be put on the population of Europe. The inflation is more than 20% in certain areas of the European Union. I have been talking about our inflation, but compare it with Europe, because they are not carrying out any special operations. And still, their inflation is growing. It reached 20%.
40-year inflation high. 40-year inflation high. It's incredible.
It has been the record inflation in the last 40 years. Yep. Yes, inflation in Russia is still in double digits area, but we have already indexed social payments and the pensions. We have increased the minimum wage and subsistence wage, thus protecting the most vulnerable people. And the high interest rates allow to preserve savings of the people in the Russian banking system. Yes, of course, for the representatives of business, it's obvious. High interest rate is putting a lot of pressure on the economy. But for the people, in most cases, it's a good thing, it's a benefit. They brought back money to the banks using this high interest rate. And this is the biggest difference from the European Union, where the inflation is eating their savings and the current crisis becoming a burden for the most vulnerable people. The long-term consequences also is caused by the losses of the companies. They have lost Russian market. They are losing their global competitiveness. And
except for McDonald's, who just rebranded to some new company. But yeah, think about it. All of this, so there was a lot of companies that backed out of Russia, but then there was a lot of companies, not as many, but there were some companies who tried to continue operations in Russia, like Western companies, but they couldn't because of all the sanctions. You have to understand, if there's this like broad sweeping sanction warfare, and you're a Western business, you can't do business with any of the entities, individuals, organizations, agencies, governments, or other companies that have been sanctioned by the U.S., or you could run the risk of being sanctioned as well. So it becomes very costly, and in some cases, impossible to continue your business operations. And we saw that there was a big, I think it was a big bank we saw this past week. I'll have to do a story on it, but they had to cease operations this far into the sanction warfare because they could no longer continue operating in Russia, even though they were trying to.
Systemic decrease in the
growth rate. And this will happen in many years. This all leads to a worsening of many difficult problems that Europe faces. Of course, we have our own issues, but they keep pointing the fingers at us while they have a lot of challenges they're facing themselves. I talked about this in Davos, and we are going to see a lot of inequality on the rise in Europe. This will further split their societies, and it's not just in terms of their economies, but in terms of the values that they hold. Of course, now we see these splits. They're trying to hide all of that.
You're gonna watch some Nays Garden out there on the beach while you're chilling.
Democratic procedures in Europe, and you see the politicians coming to power there. It's ridiculous. We see political parties that look alike, just replacing one another. There's nothing different between them, and their national features are being ignored and disregarded. They are being removed from reality, and this will lead to a growth in populism and many radical movements. This will lead to drastic social change, to degradation, and in the longer term, to the change of their elites. You see that parties that
like I got a beach just a few steps
national values are losing. But if they lose, who's going to protect these nations?
20 minutes?
So
okay.
All these talks about admissible problems, or that they can deal with that, there's nothing true behind that. We see their elites.
You gonna Bluetooth us in the car on the way?
Others and other people's games, they dance to other people's tunes.
You gotta Bluetooth us in the car.
That's the worsening of
the global
economy is not something that started overnight. We've seen that for years. And what we see right now in the Russian economy and in the economy overall is not just the result. It's not the result of the special military operation that
Jackson Hinkle drinking the tea, man. Right on, buddy.
In fact, we see that the surge in inflation in commodity markets and in other markets has started long before the events of February 24.
True. Definitely exacerbated by the sanction warfare, but true. I mean, you look at the inability for the U.S. economy to even fully really ever recover since 2008. But of course, post-COVID, inflation, supply chain crisis was already here. You know what's happening this week in the United States? Meat shipping companies are unable to get their meat from Canada to the United States, and the meat in those trucks is rotting in Canada. It is spoiling in Canada because Joe Biden still has a vaccine mandate for truckers who enter from Canada to the United States. If you are a trucker who has to deliver any sort of products from Canada to the United States, you have to have a vaccine, double vax, whatever, or else you can't enter the United States. And therefore, when you have companies that have goods that can spoil, this is going to be an additional, it's going to be an additional crack in the armor of the supply chain crisis. You have big trucks full of meat that will spoil, and it's having to sit in Canada because people can't get across the border. Same issue for going into Canada. Americans going to Canada, same exact thing. Literally can't get meat into our own country because the truckers are not vaccinated. Meanwhile,
I remember when they said, well, all the truckers are vaccinated. They're vaccinated. They just don't like all these controls. They're vaccinated. Oh. Huh. They're not vaccinated. Oh, okay, I got you.
Just this week, Dr. Fauci, he's got like a gazillion vaccines probably. He wears 300 masks if he goes out in the middle of the day, and goggles, and you know what? He got COVID this week, despite all of that. So you're telling me that we're going to destroy our economy, we're going to exacerbate the supply chain issue even further, and we're going to create more scarcity in our food market
30 seconds
because
away, guys.
This guy doesn't have a vaccine? Are you kidding me?
And we have seen many years of
Joe, I got one for you, another one. If you ever want to really, if you want to hook me up, dude, make a video for me. On this video, I've said some things, and then I decided to watch Jackson Hinkle. We said almost the exact same stuff. I'd like to see a video of us saying the same shit, man. We agree on everything, just about.
They printed new money. They gave loans that could never be returned.
I'm like, hey, I said all this word for
word. The start
word.
of the COVID-19 pandemic, and then in 2020, when both demand and supply were on the lowest.
Was
some of the lowest. And
are you enjoying some of that footage I gave you?
What does have to do with that?
I hope that was sufficient.
Other ways out. So the governments of the Western nations just started
what
to print
software
money,
do you use for video editing, brother?
Deficits in their economy by printing money. Over the past 2 years, the overall.
I do believe my laptop has an i7 processor. I could probably just do video editing if I was using the right kind of software. I wonder what software you use for your awesome, spectacular videos.
Money in the US rose by 38%. We've seen the same happen for the same amount of money we printed in decades, and now it just happened in a couple of years.
And it was all given to the top 1/10 of 1% richest, Americans and top corporations. Small businesses got screwed. Working class Americans got screwed. And all of our money was given to the richest of the rich who did nothing but do stock buybacks when inflation was limited to the stock market. So all these people are happy. They were so happy.
I'm glad you stopped in here
stock
for your
prices,
break.
let's do stock buybacks right now. Okay, let's bail out our own businesses rather than use it for any sort of just purposes, such as giving people hazard pay in the middle of a pandemic to essential workers. Let's just funnel it into our operations of stock buybacks. Great.
Yeah, and only a few countries in the world have statistics as that. Europe printed a lot of money. They have now 20% more money, which is about 2.5 trillion euros. And recently I've been hearing a lot, more and more, about...
great, man.
Talk about that, but we've all been hearing these words, Putin's inflation, and every time I hear that, I think to myself, who's going to believe that? Who's going to agree with that? Anyone who has a mind who thinks will not believe that Russia and our operation in the Donbass has anything to do with that. The current situation in the markets, the problem with food, with energy, with all those markets, is all the results of the systemic errors and mistakes by the bureaucrats in Washington and in Europe. They are the reason. Yes, let me say a few words about our operation. Of course, that had to do something with that, but the root of all those problems is...
I will end the forever wars. I will end the forever... we all have to be in on this war together.
Education understands that just
got to
printing money
stand behind Ukraine.
will not solve your problems.
We need
once you print them,
$40 billion to send over there right now. They need weapons. They need weapons. They need artillery. Howitzers. They need howitzers. They need howitzers.
They didn't think about their own economies.
I swear to God, sometimes it feels like Vladimir Putin has more of a concern for the health of the U.S. economy than even our own leaders. He's like, what were you doing? You knew this was going to cause problems. Like, anyone with a primary school education could point this out. Yet Joe Biden's blaming it on Putin rather than admitting he doesn't even have to admit fault for this. He could just point the finger and point at Trump, but no, or Congress, right? But he said no. This is Putin price hike,
right?
About their own future.
We've talked about that on here,
and so the rest of the world was left with scraps. In 2018, the U.S. imported about $200 billion worth of products every month. And now,
you don't have to,
about $350 billion.
Bro, you don't have to put me in that video. Thank you. Thank you for saying that.
Not secured by anything.
To try to fit me in, dude. I appreciate it, man.
They give out
you don't have to put me in there, man. There's a lot of people. Hey, Joe.
That's it.
I'll keep it straight as fuck with you, Joe. Listen, there's a lot of people on the internet that fucking hate me, bro. So I understand when you're making these videos and you and I are working together, if you don't use any clips from my show, bro, because I don't want to hold you back, man. I have a feeling that's why a lot of people don't ask me to appear on their show, because they think that I'm gonna, the affiliation is negative and will be frowned upon by their audiences, and they will in turn lose audience members. And I would never want to do that to you, ever, brother. I know how it is, man. People don't like me. There's a lot of people that don't like me.
Has provided food products for the rest of the world and for other markets, and it was...
Look, homie. You and everyone else in the world have free license to use any clips of me however you see fit, never with any of my permission at all, ever. Use anything. That's why it's there, brother. All of my material is on the internet for free use. It's because I don't get the eyes. And if other people like you or anybody else want to include me in their works, bro, I finally get seen. I finally get heard, and that's a great thing. I mean, it's like I go on these little tours, little 15 people at a time, sometimes 11 people right now at a time. It's like I'm on a little boat tour. Hi, everybody, welcome to the Trendy Name Boat Tour. Today we're watching Jackson Hinkle, and we're talking to at STFU Shitlib on Twitter in the chat. His name is Joe. He goes by Joe-Yo because that's a video by Joe. But you should all follow STFU Shitlib on Twitter. You should all follow STFU Shitlib on Twitter. Go follow him. Make him a friend. And go watch all his videos, man.
a good thing to do. They
and share his videos around.
They had good technologies, and they were a good example even for us.
Share his
and then Bill Gates bought them all out. And do you guys see that video of like 10,000 fully fat cattle dying this week? And then they try, oh, it's just a heat wave. Don't worry about it. It's just a heat wave that caused 10,000 cattle to die. Yeah, right. Okay, yeah, sure. And Trump colluded with Russia, and the COVID vaccines do everything that Rachel Maddow said they were going to do. And again, the inflation crisis is all Putin's fault. Okay, yeah, sure.
But now it has changed radically. And now the US is no longer an exporter of food. It now imports food. It prints money, and then it's tries
Where you
to
called Biden a kind of
gravitate its commodity flows towards itself.
Thank you, Joe.
And the same is happening in the EU.
I love you, bro. I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy.
Resulted in a surge of inflation, and now we have commodity goods, we have food, we have energy, and the prices of all those goods are rising. The balance between the export and the imports is skewed. Imports is now $70 billion more than the exports, and according to the UN, in this year, the index food by 17th of June was 50% more, and it was much more than May last year. And
I'll speed it up.
Many are asking the question: why would you pay dollars or euros for those goods when these currencies are actually failing? As a result, we see the rise of an economy of real values and real assets, not just the currencies such as euros and dollars.
This is better.
This is something I've pointed out since the start. It's like Wall Street in London, I sound like a broken record, you guys know what I'm saying though. Wall Street in London seriously underestimated the strength of the Russian economy. Now to me, I'm just a layman observer of the situation. I'm not an economic expert, I'm not a Russian expert.
We're already 40 minutes into this hour and 7-minute video, guys.
And for many on Wall Street, it seems like they can only do this in hindsight, if at all. But you can look at this and say, you guys you're just fidgeting with numbers. You just have random numbers on computer screens, and you're fucking around with numbers and derivatives, and that's all you do, and you think that's going to sustain a global economy, like the largest economy in the world. Russia, on the other hand, produces what? Produces real commodities, not just any commodities, much needed, necessary commodities. They produce lumber, oil, natural gas, coal, wheat, right? They major grain exporter. You look at the metals, silver, gold. They are major producers and exporters, right? It is much different than what in the United States, our largest, like you drive through, anyone been on a cross country road trip, what do you see? You just see people working at like a bunch of random like fast food chains all across the country. That's pretty much what the entirety of the country is. It's like people working fast food chains, people working at like retail stores, or people working at Amazon, or people working at Walmart, or people working at Uber and Lyft and DoorDash and these sorts of things, right? We don't produce. How do you expect to have an economy that sustains itself if you don't produce? And how do you think that an economy that is one of the largest exporters of basic commodities, needed commodities around the world, is an economy that's the size of
Joe, thank you so much for stopping by, brother. Thank you, man.
You're just eating the shit up. You've fallen for your own lies, and they've fallen for the lies so much that they can't even recognize that they were wrong.
See you next time, bro.
They still can't recognize this. It's insane.
Money that the West is printing is being devalued by 8% a year, and also another problem is that they can be confiscated and stolen basically from you if the US or the Western world believes that you are wrong somehow in your foreign policy.
You know what's funny? You're going to use that rant. I was going to watch that rant
again. You have a lot of dollars in your reserves. This is an objective truth, and in the upcoming month, in the upcoming years, this process of converting your reserves to other currencies will begin. This is objectively going to happen. Other countries will do that. They will continue to buy goods, to buy energy, to buy food using other currencies, and this will result in greater dollar inflation. As for Europe, there was another negative problem.
Wait, these are the things I can't stand. Chatter titled Puppy, that's your username, says, you are too young to be this confident. Okay, Puppy. I'm confident because I've been right about all this stuff, and I didn't go to Harvard, I didn't get an economics degree, I didn't get a poli-sci degree, but all these dipshits who did have been calling me a Russian propagandist and a Putin puppet for the last 4 months as I've been spinning nothing but facts about this, and for what? I was right. I always ask people, judge me by my losses because there are so few. I'm right about this stuff, and now they are the ones that are too, confidence isn't the right word, they're the ones that are too egotistical and deranged and ignorant to admit that they were wrong and apologize for being wrong. That's what frustrates me.
I would like to show you some of the ignored plants that every person should know. So pay close attention, as one day you may need one of them. Haven't you ever bumped into a mushroom, fruit, or plant and
Have you ever bumped into my dick?
Failures in Europe's energy policies. They blindly believed in their renewable energy sources and that they could rely on them alone. And this has led to a massive rise in energy prices that started in the third quarter of last year. And this has started long before our special operation in the Donbass, and they're blaming us. They made their prices soar, and then they pointed the finger at us. And this resulted in the rise of prices for many services and goods, and the rise of prices of fertilizers and potash fertilizers. And in 1 year, from February last year to February this year, prices rose by 70%. And there are no reasons for these price changes to happen. Entire enterprises are being blocked in their operations. Russian fertilizer is not allowed to be exported to Europe. And this is further moving
Notice how he said Russian fertilizers are not allowed to be exported to Europe. He also mentioned this earlier in his speech. He noted that the U.S. is easing some of these sanctions, and he referred to fertilizer sanctions. But again, the fertilizers still going to be so much money because maybe, yeah, sure, we're like, you can buy fertilizer from these Russian companies because fertilizer prices are so sky high through the roof right now. But what about the insurance companies for the shippers? What about the shipping companies? You've sanctioned all of them too. Do you think that that's going to cause some sort of dramatic shift in the prices when you try to then buy the non-sanctioned fertilizer, but everything else around it that involves the production and the shipping and the transportation and the sale of the fertilizer is sanctioned? Of course it will. It's insane. Like, if you think that's just going to solve the problem.
Europe's economy down the drain. They are seeing less and less yields in their agriculture, which will mean there'll be less food, and food prices will rise even further, and this will result in famine in some of the world's least wealthy countries. Some of the world's poorest countries will suffer from that, and this has started not just yesterday. This has been going on for many months, and it is not Russia's fault, as
we're gonna do a dab today.
Global economy. Well, I mean, we probably would be flattered to hear that we are so great and so powerful that we can drive inflation to the sky in the US.
Right, that's like what Jimmy Dore said yesterday on Tucker Carlson. You guys remember that? He said, I have it right here.
Yeah, are you giving a list of all things?
Was on Tucker Carlson yesterday?
Russia's very powerful.
I wonder how old this video is.
They overthrew our government. They committed a coup on America. They control the gas prices, and Russia's responsible for our inflation. And let me just tell you, last time I checked, Russia couldn't get their good buffet with Trader Joe's. So I don't think they're really controlling everything like they say they are.
Hey, maybe Putin watches the Dive or the Jimmy Dore show. Who knows?
Maybe we would be flattered to hear that, but that's simply not true. This has been happening. We've seen this developing for years. We see countries trying to solve their problems at the expense of others. They believe that just emitting money, printing money, and buying more goods from abroad is something that can help them, but they actually started humanitarian disasters in many parts of the world.
You're telling me that spending 50 cents for every dollar of U.S. taxpayer funds on our military and producing nothing in this country and buying products from our vassal states isn't a healthy economy, Putin? Is that what you're trying to say? Wow.
By pursuing these policies, this is the same colonial politics, just performed differently, for different means. The same colonialism we've seen for decades. Now, for Russia, our priority is to provide food and other products for the rest of the world, especially those countries that are poorest and require these products. Russia has secured its own food security, and we are going to increase the exports of grain, of agricultural goods, of fertilizers to the rest of the world. We're going to increase the exports of fertilizers up to...
As they should. The West created these artificial price hikes as a result of their sanctioned warfare, and Putin's like, yeah, we already got food security, and we're going to increase our exports to the rest of the world on top of that. So, hey, India, hey, Pakistan, you guys want some of this? Well, we can do some deals. We're going to do it in yuan or rupees or rubles, and you're probably going to be paying more, but than we would have previously. But they'll get them good deals. But it's just insane. It's like they created this problem for themselves. And I just also again note the character of Putin's speech here. He's speaking in front of world leaders from all these different countries, and just no fucks given about how absolutely proud he is of the health of the Russian economy. And even the Russian central bank leader, she came out and spoke the other day about how surprised she was. She's like, this, our economy is performing even better than I thought it would throughout all of this.
50%, especially we're going to target those countries that have that risk facing famines. And I'm talking about African countries and the Middle East. Mm-hmm. In addition to that, there are other difficulties that have to do with what other actors do in the global politics. Of course, Russian grain, Russian fertilizers are being sanctioned, have been blocked by many of the Western countries. But then Americans
Cheers, everybody.
They removed some of the sanctions, but the Europeans, I guess, are not so smart. They haven't done that before.
The Americans have removed some of the sanctions, referring to fertilizer sanctions. He's like, but the Europeans, I guess, are not so smart. Yeah, true. I mean, the Americans are still not smart because they're still going to be fucked as a result of the sanctions they have on insurance companies and shippers and production companies, insurance companies for the production companies, and so on and so forth, right? But like, it's still going to be bad. They're still going to pay a lot, but they're less fucked than the European Union.
They haven't done that, and people understand that they have made a mistake, but they can no longer go back. They cannot lose face. And Russia, let me say that again, Russia is ready to contribute to balancing the situation in the global food markets. We welcome open dialogue about that. We welcome all the discussion that can take place in the UN with people who understand what's going to happen. We can talk about normalizing logistics, transportation, to increase the amount of Russian exports in food and fertilizers to the rest of the world. There's a lot of speculation going on about Ukrainian deliveries to the rest of the world. We're not blocking that. We haven't blocked their seaports on the Black Sea, and we are actually ready to provide security for their ships, for the ships that are going to transport their grain and other products.
It's just like, this is what a room of sane leaders looks like. No one's freaking out at the shit he's saying. They're just like, yeah, no, of course. No, they've opened up corridors for shipping corridors in Mariupol and other port cities. They demined all these port cities. Again, the Ukrainians put out these naval mines, these very old naval mines that got swept away and they taken away with the tides and the ocean currents, because these are very old naval mines and big storms swept through and uprooted them from the ocean floor. Some ended up in Turkish waters to piss off Turkish authorities. Some ended up on Ukrainian beaches. One ended up on a Mariupol beach and killed 2 people, including a child. We've seen them all over Mariupol beaches. We've seen them in Odessa beaches. And Putin has said, we'll go in and demine Odessa, but we can't go in if we're not going to have these security assurances that they're not going to start like firing at us with howitzers once we start to get close. And the Ukrainians have also on purpose sunk their own ships in Odessa, the Odessa port region, because they want to make it more difficult for potential Russian amphibious invasion into Odessa. It's Ukraine's fault that they can't export out of there. Now, There's been U.S. officials and commanders who've said that they're working on the potential of exporting Ukrainian grain, which, by the way, accounts for like 0.05% of the global food share, to Western Europe through railway exports. And there's some difficulties with this. There's some issues with this in the interim that they need to sort out. But that's a possibility that could play out as well. So, I mean, Putin is 100% correct with this. The last thing I'll say, the problem is not that Russia doesn't want to do this as much, right? The problem is that none of these shippers want to go into Odessa because they run the risk of literally being blown up into a million pieces because of all the stray naval mines that Ukraine left.
The U.S. Agricultural Agency believes there's 6 million tons of wheat. We believe there's 5 million tons of wheat, and also 7 million tons of maize. And we also have other seaports, not just the Black Sea seaports, but also we have Belarus. We can move these products through Poland, through Romania, through other nations.
11 minutes left, and it's sped up.
It's not about us. It's not about our decisions, but about decision makers in Europe, in Ukraine.
It's less than 11 minutes.
There's a different danger. There's a danger that this grain will be traded for weapons for Ukraine. So, friends, the world is going through a era of change. Entire institutions crumble. Guarantees are no longer given. The West refuses to respect its obligations, and we can no longer expect it to respect its obligations.
Should be more like 7 or 8
about anything with it. So the decision to launch our special military operation was something that we were forced to do. They forced our hand. It was important, but we had to do that. It was difficult, but we, as a member of the UN, as a country that have the right to protect our sovereignty, to protect the rights of our people in the Donbass that have faced genocide for years, under full protection of the West.
I thought the video gamer YouTuber Destiny said it wasn't a genocide. I thought that he said that the actions being carried out by the same Nazis like Andrei Belitsky and Olya Ponyabuk, who said they wanted to rid Ukraine of non-Ukrainians like the Russians and the Jews, or Andrei Belitsky, who said that he professes support for the white nations of the world, their crusade against Semitic-led subhumans. I thought that they said, that YouTuber guy, he said that was not a genocide.
YouTuber guy.
Well, again, proven wrong yet again.
The West has pursued an anti-Russia scenario, an entire campaign trying to grab our lands to fuel Ukraine with weapons and military advisors. They're doing this even now. They never really cared about the well-being of people living in these territories. They really do not care. But what they do care about is to create an entire platform in Eastern Europe to attack Russia. They put as much money as they could into these projects, and now our people and the militia in the Donbass and our army are fighting to defend our right for independent development as a country that is sovereign, that is independent.
Are you guys going to talk to me in the chat at all? You got anything to say about any of all this stuff?
Someone else's view of history, someone else's values on us. So all the missions we have
anybody? You guys with me?
Will be completed in full.
Alright guys, if you've been injured in a car accident, you have to check this out. So, I just got this check from my attorney.
Yeah, no, you don't have to do that.
So that's interesting there, saying that all the operations of the special, all the goals of the special military operation will be completed in full. That's basically Putin's way of saying, like, look, like they can try to negotiate with us, Ukraine, if they decide that the Western leaders want to have Ukraine negotiate with us, whatever. But we're going to accomplish all of our goals, regardless of whether they say negotiate now or in 10 weeks.
And this will be possible thanks to the valor of our army, of our soldiers, and the support they receive from
our people. About 4 minutes left.
We deeply understand that we are right in this matter. We want to build a strong and sovereign nation. We all share that feeling. Sovereignty.
Are you driving a dump truck? Right on.
It's not something that can be partial or fragmentary. All elements of a nation's sovereignty are important. They all work together as a system. That is why we don't just want to protect our political sovereignty and our national identity, but we want to also improve and strengthen everything that has to do with our scientific, economic, technological independence and sovereignty. The entire idea, the framework of Western sanctions was based on the presumption that Russia is not sovereign when it comes to its economy, that it's critically vulnerable. They were so engaged in creating those myths about Russia being backwards, that Russia being underdeveloped, that they seem to have started to believe it themselves.
When they plan for economic ministry, they ignore actual facts. How the world changed, how our country has changed in recent years. And these changes are the outcome of the work that's
It's funny how my table matches up with where the bottom of the video screen is.
Problems of import substitution, when we introduce our own payment system and so on. Yes, sanctions have put a lot of difficult tasks in front of us. A number of enterprises still have problems with spare parts, and some technology is out of access for our companies. Supply chains are disrupted. But on the other hand, it opens new opportunities for us. And we say a lot that this is the truth, because it is an impetus to help the economy to think about, to implement its potential in full and to become sovereign in full. Yes, such an arduous task cannot be resolved overnight. We need to continue to work systematically, aimed at the future. And this is the only way for Russia to operate. And by implementing long-term roadmaps for various fields of the economy, we need to strengthen our industry and economy. And these challenges are going to make this plan stronger, but it's not going to redirect it. And today I would like to talk about the key principles on which we base the development of our country and our economy. First is openness. As sovereign state, always look for equal partnership. Always look for making its contribution to the global
Nick, you're welcome.
Those who are weak and dependable, they're looking for enemies. They are becoming xenophobic, or they are losing their independence, their autonomy, and are following sovereigns. And Russia,
you guys should all check out Jackson Hinkle's channel on YouTube. Follow him on Twitter.
We are expanding and we will continue to expand cooperation with everyone interested, with those who want to work with us. And there are a lot of countries. I'm not going to list all of them because this is the vast majority of people on Earth.
And ask him why he calls himself a patriot.
Strategic support with Russia. Chinese President Xi Jinping told his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin in a phone call and said that Beijing will keep backing Moscow on issues of sovereignty and security. said China is willing to continue to offer neutral support to Russia on issues concerning our core interests such as sovereignty and security, and intensify strategic coordination between the two countries, and strengthen communication and coordination in major international and regional organizations such as UN, BRICS, and the Shanghai
Calls
Cooperation
himself
Organization.
a patriot, but it doesn't sound like he supports going to war, you know?
The US is not involved in this. The US is not involved in this, right? Brazil,
two things don't,
Russia, India, China, and South Africa.
They don't
economic and strategic
comport,
cooperation.
I believe is the right
it's
word
really
to
incredible.
use.
The decline of American hegemony in real time.
Like, they don't fit together. So it's kind of a contradiction in, you know, in his philosophy. He calls himself a patriot, but he's anti-war. Patriots are willing to go to war for their country.
Where they have their own national interests and where they have someone else's interests. And Russia is going to
willing to
expand
go to war.
cooperation with such countries. They're going
He's
to
anti-war.
with them. Yes, we will continue to work with the Western companies who, despite this unprecedented pressure, continue to work in the Russian
I'm just saying, you know, that American flag is very hypocritical.
We will continue to develop independent
Calling
payment systems,
yourself a
develop companies of our country to develop supply chains. We are going to develop transport pathways. We will increase the throughput capacity of our railroads.
Just an observation.
Ports in the Arctic and in the East, and at Sea of Azov, that sea, they are going to be a vital part of the North-South corridor that is going to create sustainable communications.
So far we've
We're
listened to 14 minutes of his speech, and it's just incredible. I mean, this is just such an incredible historic speech. He has such a good understanding of, he really has his, thumb on the pulse of, global geopolitical relations and power struggles, because of course he's at the center of it. He has such a deep, complex understanding and thorough, manner of debunking the Western media lies about Russia and the economy, and poking the holes in the comments that are made about the decline of the U.S. economy and who's at fault. And Joe Biden can't get through a 10-minute Jimmy Kimmel appearance without Jimmy Kimmel having cut to an ad break, because Joe Biden starts ranting about biracial commercials and sputtering off about God knows what. You can't even finish a fucking sentence. That's the main part. I wanted to focus on the economic decline of the West, Russia's economic superiority, what's causing that in the face of sanctions, and battle in the Ukraine, the war in Ukraine, and the end of American hegemony. Those were the things I wanted. We got through all that, so that was a lot, but it was really good, and I wanted to watch that with you guys. Thanks for watching that episode of The Dive. If you'd like to support independent journalism, be sure to subscribe and consider becoming a member on my Patreon using the link below.
There you go. Thanks for watching my show, guys.
With a rather shocking event that's been
And now, of course, YouTube chooses to play a Ben Shapiro video after that. I don't follow him. Fucking idiots. All right, I love you guys. I'll see you on the next show. I hope you guys had fun. Take care. Love you guys. Bye now. Hashtag keep it open. Oh, come follow me on Twitter, at Nave's Garden on Twitter. We're over there. When we're not here, we're over there. I'm on there right now. At Nave's Garden on Twitter. I'm there right now. All right. Bye, guys.